Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to Smalltalk. This is the Smallville podcast here on the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Well, after the powerhouse that was absolute justice, we got these sad sacks to deal with now. One good episode, though, and two bad ones. I'll just call a spade a spade. But got to introduce my co-host. First up from 3D Movie Cinema is Jacob Collins, who is in space, and it's Christmas.
Ah! Yeah, I just literally discovered filters on here.
Oh, God, help us all.
Let's talk America. You theater people, let's talk.
All
So,
right. All right, you just turned into like John Hurt from V for Vendetta. We will show them why they need us.
I will say, I will say that this episode was just as awful. This was awful. We had a pretty decent episode, and then two shit episodes. And they're ripping off other episodes we've seen before in Smallville. Like remember in season 6 when Lois got the love potion? This is literally the same fucking episode, only without Lex. Literally, I'm watching this going, we've seen this before. We have seen this. I'm like, am I crazy? Doesn't it feel like we've seen this before? I was like, the only thing that's good about this episode is the Clark and Zod stuff. Every time, I will say there was one that made me laugh whenever Clark's just going around. You would think, though, Clark's kind of an idiot in this episode because he's like, oh, my power is I could tell people. And then he tells them just to calm down and then relax. And he's like, yo, chill, bro. I'm just like, that made me laugh.
I thought it was actually pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. That made me laugh.
The only thing I didn't like was the Lois. When it got to Lois in that episode, she was just annoying, especially she's dancing in a wedding dress. I'm like, oh God, what are we like?
She's acting like Martha Stewart in the Martha Stewart getup.
Like Ryan, what was it you said off camera? What was it you told me about what she watched? I was like,
This is what happens when you watch the Brady Bunch once. But anyway, Matt Wyatt, how are you?
Yeah, I know that Persuasion and Escape were not that great of an episode, but I don't care. I actually had a lot of fun watching it, even though it's not that great at all. Conspiracy, we can all be in sympatical that it's the better episode of the three. But yeah, the strongest story for Persuasion was definitely the Zod and Clark storyline. And yeah, and I agree that the Persuasion is literally like a sequel, recycling the plot from the Red Kryptonite Valentine's Day episode in season 6. I agree with Jake on that one. It was definitely like a remake, if that makes any sense.
We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. But first up, if you like what you've seen here, like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. We would greatly appreciate that. With that out of the way, let us get into it. This is season 9, episode 13, called Persuasion.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I want us to have a traditional relationship. Lois, what's going on?
I quit my job and moved in until we get engaged.
Engaged?
I am getting married.
Smallville, an all-new episode next Friday.
It is Valentine's Day, and while Clark is out on a date with Lois, he unknowingly becomes infected by gemstone kryptonite, which has magical wish-fulfilling properties. We got more kryptonite, folks. Be very afraid. Clark mentions to Lois that he wishes that he had a more traditional relationship, so Lois quits the Daily Planet, moves in with Clark, and starts planning their wedding. Basically what happens when you watch WandaVision once, but I digress. Still unaware of his new power, Clark also casually tells Chloe he wishes she would spend more time watching out for him. So an infected Chloe takes his wish to heart and sets her sights on a new target, Lois. Meanwhile, Zod quarrels with Tess as well as his wife Feora over the construction of the new solar tower, which he hopes will restore his and the Kandorians' superpowers, which will enable them to take over the Earth. So this is an episode of two plot lines, the Clark, Lois, and Chloe nonsense, and the actual good stuff in the form of Zod, Feora, and the tower, which gets promptly wrapped up with a neat little
it's the
bow
B storyline.
at the end of this episode. I did not care for this thing one bit.
Thing I was watching, I did like how Zod's wanting to lead his people Like Clark, I like how Clark's trying to help Zod by leading his Kandorians to another place. I like that idea. And I also, but then you got like a scene where Zod is creeping on Tess, and when she's in the bathtub, just sitting there watching her through the door like a big Tom. Like he's just like watching like this girl, like, yeah,
He's
yeah.
just
Like,
he's just creeping in that
like,
Tess in
what
the
is Zod
bathtub.
doing?
Like, what is going on?
Every breath you take.
It's just like some kind of male perverted fantasy in this episode. Like this, like two of these episodes are very like
Like
especially
that would not fly in real life. Like, no, that would be like a creepy peeping
the
Tom.
only realistic thing about that scene is when she goes security. That was the most realistic. Then when she's like, after he goes, oh, they're a little bit tied up right now. Then she goes, why don't you join me? I'm like, oh fucking shit. She would not say that.
She completely flipped the switch in that episode.
Like it's like, and who wrote this episode? For no woman would ever say, oh, you're peeping on me, and now that you knocked out my security, well then come right on in the tub with me. I'm like, what?
It was like, you can join me.
Like Zack Snyder watched this episode and like, I can make this even more awkward. Next thing you know, Henry Cavill's jumping in a full bathtub.
Well, that made more sense because they were
Oh,
together and they were not. That's comparing to that scene.
I thought you were gonna say the scene with the comedian and
At
Watson.
least Clark was not peeping Tom and with Lois because they are actually a couple that made more sense. But Zod and Tess, it did not make any goddamn sense. It was just fucking creepy.
It feels just like so weird. It's like it's almost like it's like that scene where it's like, there's a joke in Family Guy where James Bond shoots the guy and then he gets the girl and goes, she goes, come here and give me a kiss. She goes, no, James, come here and give me a kiss. And he goes, no, James. And he says like five more times. And she goes, okay. And he goes, see, 50 no's and a yes mean yes.
That one didn't age quite so well.
I did like, there are some things I do like in this scene. Like, I do like that Zod's line when he tells Tess, tomorrow when I take over the satellites, tomorrow it is you who will need mercy. I love that line.
Yeah, he's basically telling her, like, you will be my bitch. You would be at my knees once that tower completes.
Which I'm like, she kind of like, I would be like trying to shut it down if someone told me that. If someone told me, hey, tomorrow how I'm gonna, like tomorrow, how when that comes online, you're all gonna be wiped out and exterminated. I would be like, well, watch this. I'm protecting my
and yet
future.
she still is trying to get in bed with Zod and try to fucking earn his trust. Like, what are you doing? She's stupid.
It almost makes Tess look incompetent. Also, I was kind of wondering. I don't know if you guys were wondering. I was wondering, what if Michael Rosenbaum was still on the show? Like, how would Lex?
Dude, it would have been
know,
it would have been a lot different because I don't think that Lex would try to ally with Zod or maybe try to do like pull a little scheme against him. He would seriously outsmart Zod because this is not Lex. Lex will just have
also,
him on his knees and not the other way around. He would not Gene Hackman him. He would not do that Gene Hackman from Superman 2.
well, I honestly would not. I would not. That guarantee they would have a scene where Lex in the bathtub and going, "Hey, Zod."
I don't think they will be in the bathtub together.
I would not guarantee that shit. I mean, unless it's a blooper reel. That's the only way I haven't seen that.
Now that would be funny. Now that I could see that happening in the blooper reel.
It's like, yeah.
No, they just sit there having a face-to-face conversation and look like they're about to make out. Like,
the Zod, Lex, then Zod just gets in the bathtub with Lex and he's like, hey, she's giving that monologue still. He's in the bathtub with Lex and Lex is just sitting there. I'm like, this is the very awkward scene ever. He's just sitting there relaxing. And then after he threatens Lex and the scenes are over, he just sits there relaxing still, just like, and we just sit here and not talk and just stare at the ceiling.
I think they will have that kind of different type of relationship like with Lex did with Brainiac in season 5, where they're just using one another and screw each other over. That type of situation.
Yeah, but I would say
you know
Brainiac
what I mean?
Was always a step ahead.
Oh yeah, because Brainiac is more smarter than most everyone on the planet. Of course, he's going to be 10 steps ahead of him because Lex has no knowledge of who he is. But with Lex knowing Zod and the Kryptonians and the Kandorians, he would definitely outsmart them because where he is at in season 8, if he were still around. I mean 9. I mean.
I did like Clark saying to that one girl, the girl like, oh, when he asks, is that your girl? He goes, she's not my girl. And then the girl looks at him smiling, and Clark saying, we don't use that word. Just like,
yeah, they're like more of a fling, if that makes any sense.
So Ryan, what do you think?
Like I said, everything involving Zod, Feora, and the tower was far more interesting. But I was sitting here thinking to myself, okay, the tower is going to be built slowly, and that's going to be like the big thing. And no, by the end, it gets destroyed. And I'm just sitting there like, why even bother? Like, why even set all of this up? Get this whole dream sequence and vision of like where like Lois is like lost 3 weeks of her life being sent to this parallel world, like looks like something in a Doctor Who universe, like only to then like just be like, up, we're done with that. But up, bum.
Well, if
Next.
you've seen the other episodes, you know why. Well, anyway,
Yeah,
well, yeah,
I can't
because,
say
well, I
why.
will defend that because he's trying to alter
Yeah.
the future of the tower getting destroyed. He knows what's going to happen. He's not
It's
just
kind
going
of
to,
like Terminator. Think of it like Terminator, where by
kind of
them
like
blowing up
T2. It's
Sky,
definitely like
yeah,
T2.
by blowing up Skynet, they're preserving their future to stop Skynet from ever becoming a thing.
Exactly. But then when we get into the other two episodes, there's always consequences when you're trying to alter the future.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's not like they're trying to be
I
like,
thought it was
oh,
ballsy. I thought that was ballsy for Clark just to burn down that tower to see Vision. It was like, damn, he ain't messing around. He's not going to stand by and let that tower get completed.
because Clark knows he's like, look, if I do that tomorrow, it's going to be the end of humanity, probably.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're going to put this to the test. And especially when we saw that the assassin lady was now the one who killed Jarrell. And she's willing to be put to justice at the end of the episode, which I thought that was ballsy. Like, wow. Like
You
she,
know,
because she really, no, because after really Clark giving her the Fiara identities and try to preserve life, she completely misjudged him. The reason why she killed Jarrell was because he thought that they were an abominations and that could be a problem to the Kendorians. But then she's seeing in the different perspective of Clark that he's really good to others no matter who you are, and that's why she decided to want to come clean to Zod.
you know what? I would absolutely, I was sitting there thinking this going, well, now the future can't come true because she's dead in the future. So basically, they're rewriting their own future by her dying because she wasn't dead in Zod's
Right. Mm-hmm.
apocalyptic future. And
Yeah.
so,
It's like the future is run by the logic of whose line is it anyway, where everything is made up and the points don't matter.
they just pivot. The pivot, you mean? They'll
Pivot. Pivot.
which I was watching. By the way, this is a little off topic, but I was watching Friends earlier, and they were putting a couch, and like
Yeah.
Ross was yelling, "Pivot, pivot,
Pivot.
pivot!" And
Pivot.
shut up, shut up,
Shut up. Shut up.
I was laughing about that.
That
He
was,
goes,
dude,
"Pivot."
but that was one of the iconic, funniest scene in the show. That
No,
that the Instagram algorithm keeps popping up every now and then.
the only thing is, I like the futuristic thing because you're showing like this is what's going to happen if Zod gets his powers back. And I like that they're going a different direction. We're not getting this, oh, Red Sun Doomsday, because it would be fun if Clark has no powers and it's just Zod whooping his ass around.
Yeah, because
And
they
we
don't want
saw
that. They don't want that to repeat itself again. Like, no, he's gonna fucking stop this tower from getting built. Like, he's not gonna let that happen.
I don't know if why did I put this as like, I said Lois in the dress montage. I'm like, I did
The
not like that. I don't know
the
why.
wedding dress montage.
I hated that. I don't know why I put that in
It
my
was so
life.
goofy. It was a goofy scene. I don't know why. I laughed. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was
I thought that was so
stupid.
funny. Yeah, it was completely out of character, but that was the whole point that you never see her act like that
It's just like
ever.
Lois. I will say in season 6, it was done better when the original
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
where like Lois had like
But
got
she was
that
acting all
thing, and
girly
then
and
Clark
all sexy
speeds
Lois from season 6, and then now she's turning all goody tissue from the fucking Brady Bunch.
Yes, I thought that was like, yeah. I will say, Chloe going to kill Tess. I thought that was pretty good.
She went cold after after Clark's persuasion of that kryptonite hypnosis. She went a little bit
Yeah,
cold
she
blooded.
insulted Lois. Like she put Lois in her like,
She
you're
just
nothing.
really insulted the shit out of her in that episode.
I also like the Zod provoking Clark until he's possessed to
Oh,
kill
I love that part.
to kill
I
Tess.
love that.
Though Clark trying to kill Tess was great. I loved it. Whenever he threw
Yeah, when that hypnosis reversed back to him because Zod is also Kryptonian, so it will reverse it back to him with that hypnosis and him pursuing killing Tess. That was fucking
thing
cold
is,
blooded
though,
on
Tess is
Zod's
stupid
part.
because it's like they're in a circle. She could jump over that. I'm like, you could jump over that fire and try to get away.
She could jump out on
she's
fire
just
and get
sitting there
away,
doing
but then
circles like this.
but then Clark will chase after her. Like there's no escaping.
Yeah, I was waiting. I thought it was gonna be like in season.
He
2.
was
Y'all
gonna
remember
homelander her ass right there.
y'all remember in season 2 whenever he got the red kryptonite ring and they're in the cornfield with that girl and he just like shows up and he's just staring at her, looking down upon like this.
doing
I
a
thought it was
whole
gonna be like that.
that would have been cool.
And instead, it's just like, oh man, we're about to get evil Superman again. But like, no, it's not. I'm like,
It's
oh,
temporary, of course.
I was like, come on, it's fun when he's evil. I'm like, it's more. I know Ryan hates that more than anything when it's Red K Clark. Ryan's like, that is the worst thing.
The one thing from the original run of Smallville that I have not missed is Red K Kryptonite. That thing is
I've always loved the Red Cake
I've always
episode.
loved it too.
I
every
always ate that up when he goes to a little bit of the dark side.
Don't want you polluting this beautiful Sussex County air with your language.
every t every time that I see that stupid ring pop out, I'm just like I'm like I'm like Bogus from the Fantastic Mr. Fox movie. I'm just destroying that trailer, like breaking tables, doing shit. I'm just like, why
I
must
get that
we put
reference because I
up?
watched it for the Wes Anderson road.
Why must we put up with this quarter life crisis? Why must?
I do like that Zod, yeah, Zod killing Leia for killing Jor-El and like Clark destroying towers. I thought it was great that Zod did tell him straight up like, yeah, I killed her, and he said I did it for you though. I
Yeah,
did it.
because he thought that, hey, this is the Kryptonian way. You go after and get them justice and like judge, jury, execution. This is
He's
the only
trying to be
Kryptonian
good
way.
to Clark. He's like, Clark, I'm trying to help you out. I did this.
I'm trying to get justice for
Oh,
you from
I
your
killed.
father's death.
I did this for you. He goes, and he's like, that's not the way to do it. And he goes, I did it for you though. I tried to. He says, and I thought that was great of Zod that he actually says,
The
look,
funeral scene, too. The funeral scene was really a good funeral scene
I
of the
thought it was great
Kryptonian,
too.
of something that we've never seen a different side of before.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed that the Zod stuff about, especially when Zod sees the buildings burning down, and
I
then he
mean,
tells
one,
him
one,
like
one question is, what kind of kryptonite was that from that pixie dust? They never really
they
addressed
said
that
it was
part.
green, right? They said it was
Was it?
green.
I don't know if it was green. It would have hurt. It would have weakened him right then and there. I think it might have be. It might be a pink kryptonite of something of persuasion because they weren't very clear on that
It
one.
could
Or
have been the
blue,
same glitter from like season 6, probably.
maybe that
Red
that that might
kryptonite
be true.
Hang
or
on,
purple kryptonite.
I am Googling it. There is a pink.
No, here's the thing: they never addressed this in this episode of what kind of kryptonite it was.
No, no, I understand. I'm just like, for the sake of this show, I wanna just make sure that we get it right. So, type of kryptonite that seemingly turns Kryptonians more feminine, or I don't think I can say that on this show. So definitely not pink.
That's what it does. You Google that, what pink kryptonite can do. It's literally true.
And it's
It
on
makes them
the fandom wiki
flaccid.
and
You say it
everything.
means you're saying it makes them flaccid.
Uh, Something like that. I'm sending it to you now.
Okay. You should just put it like you should just for like the context of the show, put the definition there. Just that way the audience can themselves can read it, not us.
Like blame the editors of the fandom wiki.
So, guess what? And then Elon Musk will say, see, Wikipedia's lame, Stinkopedia. Nice.
I think I'm gonna buy it.
I think I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, that's a great. I think I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, like, I think
Just one
yeah.
of the many things that I own. But I don't know.
Which
I'm sick of talking about this episode. So if you
also, I
guys,
just want to say
Damn.
one more thing that made me mad. Where I was like, Clark shows up at the construction sites of the towers because Zod's talking to contractors. He's dressed like the Blur, and I'm like, why are you dressed like? Why wouldn't you wear your civilian clothes? You're dressed like the Blur. There's people around. I'm
Well, he's
like,
on top of the gargoyle. No one's gonna see him from the
no,
top. No
he
one's
just
paid attention.
literally Zod's by the fence talking to the construction. Then he super speeds up in the Blur costume, walks up to
No,
Zod.
no, he didn't want. No, he. That's not what happened. I feel like you don't remember that end
No,
of the
watch the
episode.
scene.
He was on top of that gargoyle. He fucking heat vision and destroyed that tower. That's what happened.
No. I'm talking about like the scene
Oh, the
before.
scene. Oh, when he was confronting him. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Got no. I'm staying
Yeah, no,
corrected. I thought you
you're
were
right
talking
when
about
you
the ending.
shoot the laser beams and shoot the
Oh,
tower.
okay.
But I'm talking
Never.
about the scene where Clark is just walking like he asks, "Did you kill Jor-El?"
Oh
And,
yeah. Like, dude, there's someone that no one hear him.
hey, why is that Zod guy talking to the Blur? If I had to give this a grade rating, I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10.
all right, Matt.
I'm gonna give it a 6. The Zod storyline with that one was the strongest that kept me from not liking this episode. So yeah, it's a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay.
To quote Gene Siskel, "Where's the big red hat and beard, Santa? You just gave them a gift."
Jeez.
I'm going 3 out of 10. And the 3 goes to Zod, Korra, that whole thing alone. It would have gone higher, but the freaking solar tower like just gets destroyed. And
And
just
also, how did Tess not know that the Red Sun can take away his powers? How did Tess not know this?
It just raises too many questions.
we have established, Matt, that Tess is not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Like you're the one she's the one who studied the Kryptonians and every effect from strength and weaknesses, and somehow she had no idea that the Red Sun could take away their powers. No.
Season 9, episode 14, called Conspiracy.
Aliens are among us. Someone is hunting our people. Their blood is on your hands.
Can't blame me for abduction.
Zod.
Smallville, an all-new episode next Friday at 8/7 Central.
Clark teams up with Zod's wife Feora to investigate the abduction of her sister Vala, and several Kandorians whom have been experimenting with humans in order to find a way to claim their superpowers, while Lois herself is abducted by Bernard Chisholm, a former doctor the Kandorians experimented on, claiming that there are aliens on Earth and he wants the skeptic Lois to write an article about it. But when Zod goes off on his own and tries to stop Chisholm without his superpowers, Clark is conflicted whether to save the life of his enemy. Meanwhile, Oliver investigates the disappearance of money from Tess's company accounts, and he discovers that Chloe is responsible in using the embezzled money to construct kryptonite weapons for the possible use against Zod and the Kandorians. So, the main villain of this episode, and Jacob and I talked about this off camera and privately. So, the mask that this guy wears, Matt, you've seen the first Hellboy, correct? The Del Toro one?
I've seen both of them.
Do you know what Carl Rupert Cronin looks like, the dude with the gas mask?
With the clock
it's been a while since I watched that first movie.
He's the one that wears the mask that has the blade where he turns it like he puts that machine where he turns it on.
No, I think I know who you're talking about because once I rewatch that movie, it'll definitely come back to me. But
Well,
yeah,
he's
I think
basically a
it was.
human clone.
I do see the resemblance of that mask in this episode. I do remember the resemblance. Like I remember where that was from. It had to be Hellboy.
Then he takes his mask off and he's Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Without the pins.
It's definitely like Hellraiser style. And I know this actor, J.R. Bourne. He was from the show
Ghosts.
Teen Wolf. Yeah, he was from Teen Wolf. And this was before Teen Wolf. I remember him in that episode. I was like, oh yeah, I loved him. I think he was great in that.
He's also
episode.
in 13 Ghost.
Oh right, I do remember
He's the
him in
lawyer,
13
the one
Ghosts.
that like insulted the naked chick, where he's like, "Hey,
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
lady."
that was him.
And then
Dude, he was so young. I barely recognized him, dude. He was so young back then.
I mean, yeah, this show was like what 2001, which was shot in 2000, and then it came out.
Yeah,
And then this
right.
is like 2011 or 10, 2010.
Yeah, because this episode, like, this was 13 Ghosts was the first exposure that I remember, the first appearance I saw him in, and then I saw him in this episode, and then years later when Teen Wolf came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's the dude from the episode of Smallville. I knew he looked familiar, and he was a series regular, and I ended up falling in love with that character in that show.
Oh, you did?
Well, not in love, but you know what I mean. I know, not the way you think.
Gayville is brought to you by.
Alrighty then. But
So anyway, there was things I do like about this episode, Ryan. I don't know what you like about this episode, but I did like this. Felt more like an X-Files episode than it did a Smallville episode.
Oh yeah, which Lois did name drop the character in X-Files. She did reference off that show.
He's like, I want to believe Moltley. He's basically
Yeah, because this was
Mulder.
a conspiracy theory episode about rounding up a bunch of aliens and trying to unravel the mystery of aliens living among us episode, which I really dug it. I actually liked this episode a lot more than I thought it would. It did move further with the main story.
well, this was my favorite of the three. I liked the idea that this guy was basically like doing like his best impression from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They're already here. You're next. Like I liked that part of it.
I mean, he was their like Frankenstein's monster because he was their lab rat from the Kandorians after they just drilled something into his brain and completely has a lot more knowledge than no one should ever think of after he died of a heart attack.
They saved his life.
Yeah, but also there's lots of repercussion after that. Like he was like, what the fuck? And it made him so mad, and he's so desperate to unravel to expose the Kandorians to the world. A desperate man.
I did like the fact that this guy was like the idea is somebody that didn't want to be saved. They saved, and this is the repercussion.
I loved his performance. It was like he was breaking down like, "Hey, when I died, I was at peace." I was like, "Ooh." I mean, I don't blame him for
I
wanting
liked
to.
it.
I mean, it's kind of messed up. Even though you were so grateful to be alive, but there's always some things that you just can't come back from mentally.
So
Which
yeah, he's basically like one of the farmers from Fire in the Sky.
I mean, why would you want to live with all a bunch of shit drilled into your brain for the rest of your life? No. And then you're going to have lots of more knowledge that you never want to think of.
He liked oxygen so much he wanted it directly into his brain, like just flying around in there.
You know what their blockbuster haul was this week? Was the blockbuster haul this week was Fire in the Sky and Hellraiser.
Yeah, that's exactly my. Which I still have not watched the original Hellraiser, but I did watch
so
Fire.
good.
But I did,
so
but I know it's a cult classic, a horror movie, and I did watch Fire in the Sky, so I can definitely see the resemblance.
Which is like I'm like that's an odd choice to pick from this week, Hellraiser, and it's kind of like, well, like which by the way, I do like there are some things I do like Oliver's line. Well, judging by the like, because when Oliver comes out of the shower and Tess is looking at him, he goes, "Well, judging by the smug look on your face, I guess you're not here for the peep show."
You gotta love Justin Hartley's snotty remarks. He just knows how to deliver it. Yeah, and then now we find out later in the episode that Chloe's been stealing money for Oliver so she can stock kryptonite weapons against the Kandorians, which that's no surprising that she would do something like that because she's not just going to blindly give these Kandorians identities and simply go along with it. No, she's going to be overly prepared for the worst.
One thing I did really like about this episode also is that Clark and Feora team up. You know, they kind of become like, the Mulder and Scully themselves, trying to find out, information and stuff. And they're always, I thought that was a really great episode, like, because he knows that Feora, in the future, she becomes an evil person that he has to face. And so he's like, because he's kind of, I think he trusts her a little bit more than Zod because he knows Zod is like straight up. And so I like the fact that he sees, because at first he's really skeptic about her going like he knows what she becomes. And he's like, oh, hell no, like, I'm not going to, like...
But I did love the scene where she was talking about her history with Zod, that she was carried out in the middle of a battle with her. She was badly wounded. I mean, Zod was the one that saved her life as a soldier, which it was something that Clark never seen, a different side of Zod that he's never seen before.
Zod is a great guy in this episode.
He became more of a good man in this episode. He was more selfless.
He saves Lois's life.
Yeah, he literally took a bullet. It almost, you know what it reminded me? It kind of felt like it was a little bit of a recycling of a little bit of a plot point. Remember out of the episode called Hidden, when Clark got shot by a psycho who nearly tries to nuke Smallville, and he got shot in the same spot that Zod got shot in.
I mean, they're trying to parallel, because
it's a parallel.
It's like because Zod dies, like he'd rather look die. I'm dying protecting my people. Just save my people. That's all. I mean, Zod really, and so Clark.
That was from his last dying wish to Clark: save my people.
And I just thought that was like he thinks, oh my God, Zod. The fact this is a completely different Zod. This isn't the egomaniac Zod that I will face. This is a Zod that
because we know what drove him to become an egomaniac and a violent dictator in the future. Because Jor-El refused to bring back his only son, and he refused, and that's what drove him to his egomaniac and his hatred against Jor-El. When you watch that flashback in the Kendor episode,
and so he's basically he needs that friendship. I think that friendship, and he thinks I can save Zod. And I will say, I think that I really liked also. I do like that, like how he shows up. Zod shows up and gets Lois. He goes, "Come on, Lois." And he's like, come on, help her. And then he tries to, and then he turns off. And then, I thought that was really great. And him dying for Lois. And then Clark.
Wasn't it funny that when he was going to the Daily Planet to get some of the files and he was dressed up as a reporter and he using the Clark Kent disguise style?
Hey, full eyes. Can you help a compadre out? Like, I'm just like, Zod is really cheeky. I thought that was funny. The only
That
thing
was very but also they were trying to pull the Clark Kent disguise style. They did that. That was totally on purpose.
The only thing I did not like about that was all right, Zod doesn't have powers yet, but yet there's a slow motion of Zod stealing stuff to go undercover as a reporter. Like, it's a slow motion shot of him going, "Pin."
Well, yeah, they're trying to slowly that he can easily do a pickpocketing.
I'm like,
it's a technique that you gotta learn how to pickpocket.
Also, the lady reporter, this lady is a reporter. She couldn't just look at him and the name tag and realize he doesn't work here, or that he's wearing someone else's name tag, because they're on the same level, and the person he's still
I don't think they have the photo ID on the press tag. I don't think they do.
Clark, yeah, because Clark has this as Clark Kent on there as a picture.
Yeah,
of
maybe. Yeah. You're probably right. I don't think that she spotted that press tag. It's like, shouldn't she be able to spot that? It was right in front of on his chest. I guess she probably just got distracted by his charm.
Also, Oliver and Chloe did not see the guy taking pictures of them. Like, he's literally within distance. Oliver just looks around like this. He looks everywhere, but where you're supposed to.
Dude, you were literally 5 feet away from them. How did you not see it?
Like, hey, isn't that the guy?
But I think Oliver did. I think Oliver did spot it. That's the reason why that weapons got moved, because he knew that Tess was on him. Like, he was not stupid. He was way like 10 steps ahead between Chloe and Tess.
The villain death also is so dumb. Me and Ryan were joking about the villain death.
That was so stupid. He went out in the most dumbest way. I mean, I don't know if that was because maybe it's because he can't take it anymore. Maybe he just wanted to kill himself on purpose, or maybe he just did it in the most embarrassing, dumbest fucking way as possible. Hey, let's just fucking ram it and just get it fucking electrocuted and fried. You know what that reminded me? Do you know what that reminded me? In Scary Movie 3. Remember when the fucking killer had the chainsaw? Chainsaw down and the fucking wood dropped on his head, on her head.
In Wild Wild West, the Will Smith Kevin Kline one, Will Smith fights this guy with like a steel head and like these like, not the knife hands one, but he had like a metal head and just a bunch of others, and he goes to like raise up like something against him, like a wrench, I think. And he's like, "Ah!" And then all of a sudden he goes and he falls off the spider.
Dude, I don't remember. I do remember watching that movie as a kid, and I haven't watched it that many times, so I barely remember that scene in the movie.
Thing is, Wild Wild West is so terrible, but I also love it.
Yeah, because he chose that he chose that over The Matrix, and he regretted that.
It is a guilty pleasure movie. Yeah, I actually have a soft spot for that movie because it's such a guilty pleasure movie. Especially, the only thing is that movie is extremely racist, though. Extremely racist. Like, they shit like every 5 minutes. Kenneth Branagh is saying something racist towards Will Smith, and I'm just like, 80% of the script and his lines in that movie are just racist shit. Like, I'm like, really? I'm like, really?
I mean,
this had a Happy Meal line too.
It's supposed to be comedy gold when it comes to racist jokes.
It's had a Happy Meal too.
Kenneth Branagh was on one in that movie.
They had a literally Burger King Happy Meal advertising Wild Wild West.
Mommy,
I remember
can I get the racist toy. Here you go, son.
He comes out on a model of Abraham Lincoln with Battle Hymn of the Republic playing in the background. The head explodes, and he pops up like, and he goes, "Don't you just hate that song?" I'm just like, cinema right there. Let's
but
go.
I will say, the last thing I liked was Zod getting his powers.
Dude, did you know from that moment on that rooftop that he was faking his bullet wound being hurt? Did you think he was faking it at the time before it was actually revealed that he was faking it?
I mean, he had to be.
Yeah, he was totally faking the shit out of it.
It reminded me of Nicolas Cage in City of Angels. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Nicolas Cage, City of Angels.
I have not.
Have you seen it, Ryan?
Seen what?
City of Angels.
Oh, no, I haven't. No.
There's a scene where it's kind of like that because he's an angel, like, you know, which Nicolas Cage has said over the years. If you ever want to see what his performance as Superman looked like, just watch City of Angels. Which I'm like, that's an odd choice, but okay.
Okay. Odd choice comparing to that.
Yeah, because he hated his cameo in The Flash. He said he hated it so much.
Well, he didn't say he hated it. I think that's a little overstatement.
Well, I mean, he said he did not like it. He said he just felt like I just stood there on camera doing this.
He was like, no, I just stood there on camera. That's all he said. He didn't say he hated the movie.
I think it was Burton that hated the cameo. It was Burton.
No, Burton hated it. That's what he said. That Nick Cage did not say he hated. He said, like, yeah, I shot a scene where I fought the spider as Superman.
Because Tim Burton at least has some taste, you see.
Well, I mean, Tim Burton also like put a 7-minute song in Beetlejuice, about MacArthur Park, which I'm just
This is the man who gave the remake of Dumbo. Don't forget that.
Good point.
Which have you ever listened? If you ever listen to MacArthur Park, there's a song like I'm just the showrunner. I listened to a 10-minute interview with the showrunners of Smallville because the showrunners wrote Beetlejuice too.
Yeah, they
And
did. They wrote the
said,
sequel and they did Wednesday.
yeah, they said that they read the lyrics and they were like, it's a 7-minute song. They said that whole wedding sequence in Beetlejuice, and it is a 7-minute song.
I know. I
Tim
mean, I
Burton
like
was
Beetlejuice
adamant
and Beetlejuice, but the song in that musical piece of that wedding scene was
I
definitely
liked it.
cringed.
I was like,
I did not like it. It was the most forgettable. Like it tried to outdo that dinner scene in the original movie that was so iconic, and they tried to up it, and it did not work.
Well, they said that Tim Burton's idea to make it a wedding, like in the third act, and Tim Burton's idea was that he said that he had apparently during COVID, he's like, I was listening to MacArthur Park a lot, and he told the writers, "Hey, you know what we should do? We should put this song in the movie." And they're like, "It's a 7-minute song," and on top of that,
Yeah,
the lyrics
that was a lot. That was
don't
long.
make no fucking sense.
It made no goddamn sense. It was so fucking long. Like, come on, let's move it along with this this finale already. Come on.
Although
dude.
Willem Dafoe was amazing in that movie, like
he was great, but he was great in the movie. But I just thought his character was kind of utterly useless. Didn't really have a purpose in that movie. I loved him. He did a great job in this performance.
Jr. in Tropic Thunder, where he believes he's Kirk Lazarus.
Yeah, that did remind me of that. You're right.
He believes he is a cop. He believes he is truly a
I
cop.
know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Like he even has those secretaries that tell him you're not really a cop, and he goes, "You keep me," but I'm like, he just ignores her completely.
Why are you still in character? I'm not dropping a character until I did the DVD commentary.
Well, Willem Dafoe's never going to get that DVD commentary because he died in the 80s.
I know. Yeah, he ain't not going to get it. He's been dead since the 80s.
This is like the rest. I just think that's so funny. That's like one of the funniest characters in the movies, like Wolf Jackson, especially whenever like that scene where he's just going to the church and they're all just doing this, like, come on, let's go. He's just rolling around doing this, like he's in a 70s movie.
He still thinks he's in a 1970s cop show.
I just thought that was, but yeah, if we had to go to ratings, I'm gonna give this episode, an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a really good episode.
Okay, Matt?
8.5. This is definitely a really damn good episode.
I'm siding with Matt on this one. I'm going 8.5. I really enjoyed it, best of the three by a significant margin. But now we take our plunge from the penthouse to the outhouse head first. Let's get into season 9, episode 15, called Escape. And boy, I wanted to escape after watching this.
You lied about having powers. Where'd you get them?
Fear is what prompts us to protect ourselves. You have your secrets, and I have mine.
The time has come to share in your birthright.
Smallville, Fridays at 8.
Clark and Lois head out of town for a quiet romantic getaway, but their plans are thwarted when they run into Chloe and Oliver at their bed and breakfast inn. Oh gee, hijinks ensue. Ugh. The couple's awkward moment is interrupted by the arrival of the Silver Banshee, who sets her sights on Clark and Oliver. Meanwhile, Tess faces off with Zod with a surprising result. So, Collins and I were talking about this before we went live. And I imagine the writing process for this episode was the writer had notes, walking down into the hallway to get like a cup of coffee, something, saw one of the writers from Supernatural walking in the opposite direction, not paying attention, saying something like, see the two of them, they're like, hello, Ralph. Hello, Fred. They bump into each other. The notes fall all over the floor. They collect each other's papers and they walk away. Smallville writer gets the notes all collected and realized, oh, crap, I grabbed the Supernatural script by mistake. Oh, well, we gotta run with it, because this is basically a Supernatural episode, but bad.
I will say that this felt more of Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, and they took that script from fucking Nickelodeon and put it in this episode. If you've seen that kind of show, it kind of has the resemblance tone of that episode.
I was gonna say this felt like a poor man's version of The Shining, or like a Skinamax episode.
If they made a Skinamax of The Shining,
it felt like they literally took a Supernatural episode and then a Skinamax and said, oh, But yeah, we can't show half the. I'm like, oh, right.
Hello,
Don't worry,
Danny.
it's all the shadows. It's all silhouettes. Don't worry, we got it. It's all silhouettes.
It's
Like,
kind of odd and
We'll put a
convenient
bathrobe over
to
her.
have that fucking painting get scratched and then it unleashes the fucking banshee spirit conveniently out of
That
all the
felt like
people
a
that visit
Goosebumps
that place.
episode, if anything.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of Goosebumps and Already Afraid of the Dark thing. That was like a cheap Walmart version.
Also, did Silver Banshee look like? I don't know if you've ever seen that show, A Haunting, that used to come on A&E all the time.
I don't think no, I have not. She almost looked like fucking Sindel from Mortal Kombat.
I mean, but no, there's a show that used to come on A&E all the time called A
I've never seen it.
Is
No.
they would get actors, they would do reenactments. It's kind of like how they did America's Most Wanted, where they would have like people, the real people there, and they would tell their haunting story, and then they'd have reenactments of the. Like,
now you piqued my interest. I definitely want to watch that now.
It's on like Max, I believe.
What is it called? What's it called? The Haunting?
Yeah, it's called A Haunting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably.
Yeah,
I'll definitely look that up. Now it just piqued my interest.
Yeah, what inspired the movie Insidious is actually one of the episodes on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really creepy too. Like, but yeah, I'll say one of the she said, but I'll say Silver Banshee looked like one of the monsters in that episode because they'll have like someone like sitting there, like scary, and then they'll have like for a demon, they'll have like someone in like makeup and go like.
She did have that kind of a zombie look from Sindel from fucking Mortal Kombat. If you kind of similar fucking Sonic fucking Scream, that's exactly what she has in Mortal Kombat. If you really think about it.
I will say I do think that there was some good stuff in this episode. I know we're shitting on this completely, but there is some good stuff. Like Zod being the Blur while Clark is out of town, I thought that was pretty great. Like,
yeah, because he's trying to impersonate the Blur and he's withholding information that he's got his powers back and not telling the Kandorians about it until Tess had to fucking like confront him and call him out on it. Which was kind of odd that the choice that she would go to the Kent farm to confront Zod. Like, why? I didn't understand the point of that.
You could tell this show takes place in 2010 because a Ring doorbell would have made this scenario next to impossible. Dun dang dong. Yeah, I don't.
And I understand it. And I understand that inside the barn was definitely on green screen, but it's no new because most of the time when you're in the Kent farm, they're done in green screen.
It's like they couldn't get Cassidy Green. The Cassidy Freeman was not available just to walk up to the Kent farm or nothing. Instead, they just like, all right, Cassidy, sit on this green screen and we'll Photoshop you in there. And I'm just like, they
did. They totally Photoshopped that scene because it looked like they were using that same shot with Clark in that episode with Kara trying to teach him how to fly in season 7. The reveal of Brainiac. I like that because if you go back, it's so fucking similar shot that they repurposed it.
I mean, it's like this show is following the sitcom routine where everybody meets at the Kent farm. You know how in that 70s show, everybody meets up at Eric's.
It happened in most sitcom shows. Like everybody can waltz into their place without not giving a little knock on the door. The only time that they ever knock on the door is when they first introduce these new characters. That was the only time. But then when you know them, they can just waltz right in like it's nothing.
I know it makes no sense, especially it's like
even drink all their fucking brewskis or eat their food. Even that 70s show, that 70s show. They do the same thing.
You just come over to Ryan ain't there. We're just sitting there in his room, chit-chatting, relaxing, going, so let me tell you, Matt, and then we're just sitting
Let me tell you something.
And then Ryan's like, what the fuck are you guys doing in my house?
What the fuck are you doing? Don't eat my shit.
Oh, these guys. Hey, guys.
Yeah, because every now and then when I go over to my friend's place every now and then, like I never even touch any of their stuff. And they offered me to have some, like, hey, there's a drink here, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I can't. I feel weird about it doing that.
Exactly.
I get this whole insecurity of like, oh, I don't know. I have this principle where when I go over to someone's place, I don't want to eat or drink any of their things.
Same. My mother told me when you go to someone's house, you never ask to anything, eat or drink.
I know.
You say no.
I always get that weird.
I'm trained that way when someone asks me.
This whole setup at the end, though, was just cringe. It reminded me of this one episode of The King of Queens where Doug and Harry and Deacon and Kelly all travel to this apple-themed inn in Delaware. And Deacon and Kelly just have sex all the time, soundtrack to Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. And
speaking of Delaware, hi, I'm in Delaware.
Delaware. Hi, I'm in Delaware.
Funny enough, I was listening to a podcast about it.
Add the fucking clip in that.
It's going in, but
it's definitely going in.
Somehow I can buy the more ridiculous, like this is more ridiculous than the one where it's like Doug and Carrie like are trying to have sex but can't because they're being upstaged by the couple next door. But I digress.
How did you feel about Chloe and Oliver now hooking up secretly and not openly about it?
It's not gonna last long.
Really? Oh, okay.
No, no, it can't last.
Did it caught you off guard that you were not expecting that to happen?
A little bit, but as long as like there's at least until they introduce Felicity, this is not gonna last long.
You know what made me irks me about that this whole thing is like the first Clark's like just let them mind their own business, just let's just ignore them. And then like Clark's like when Oliver comes and sits next to him, he's like, "Listen, okay, you can't hurt Chloe." I'm like, "What? You were just on his side a second ago. Now you're against him." Like
I
that
did
was
like that. I did like
funny.
that brunch awkward conversation. I did laugh at that their
Oliver
little
made me
awkward
laugh
moment.
when he says, I found the brochure and I figured Lois wanted to come here." And Chloe was like, "That was my brochure." And then Oliver just tells Clark,
Hey, don't look at me.
they at a date, both of them. I just realized that, it's best not to figure out which one's which and just go with subtext, I'm just like,
Loved it. That was gold.
I just like that made me laugh when Oliver said that. I was like laughing hysterically
I mean,
about
it's no new that Clark was going to give him that lecture with the whole relationship with Chloe. That was no new. Like we knew that was going to come. He's like, dude, she's stronger than you think.
Oh yeah. I do like that Clark was fixing up the room for the leak. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the one in the desk did not even check to say, oh wow, it looks way too perfect. How did you get that fixed so quickly?
I would be like, I'm sorry, but if I was just thinking the whole time watching it, going, if somebody was like, "Hey, we really need the room. We really need. I'll go fix the room." I'm like, okay, are they doing drugs or something in the room? Because that's really sus that you really are just like, wanting to go in that room so bad, like you really need a room, even though they don't look like drug addicts. I'm just thinking like I would be really sus about it. I would be like,
I would be asking a lot of questions and not like, oh, okay, go ahead. What?
also Lois asking Oliver about Oliver in the bathroom, about Ollie in the
Oh, the
bathroom.
bathroom scene. The bathroom to the shower made me die. I laughed. When Clark gets out of the shower and Chloe is possessed by the banshee, she's willing to throw herself at him.
She's just like this, and
I
he's
was
like, "Whoa,
completely
Lois,
dying right there.
oh!"
And then
Like
she
it's like,
wakes up like, what the fuck?
which wait, I thought that was
Oh,
funny.
I love that snarky remark with Oliver about Lois's outfit. Does it come with the what was it called? Oh, fuck.
Does it come with a horn? Does it come with a yodel? A late what's it called?
Lederhosen?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's what it's called. Fuck, now I'm just drawing a blank.
Also,
come to
Tess
you
does the
later,
same thing to
guys.
Zod that Margaret Kidler did.
Bagpipe, yeah, the bagpipe.
Bagpipes, yeah. Also, Tess does the same thing to Zod that Margaret Kidler did to Christopher Reeve in Superman 2.
Oh yeah, I was literally gonna bring that up.
And to prove
Yeah,
that
because when she was pulling the pistol, trying to shoot and try to see if he's actually bulletproof, which they used that because that was in the Donner cut, the Richard Donner cut, because this was not really originally filmed for that movie. It was usually a screen test scene because you could tell like each shot that you could see Clark looks completely different from his glasses, his hair, because those were screen tests.
Yeah, and I do like in Superman 2 how he's like, if Clark Kent was, if this would have been Clark Kent, you would have murdered him. And she goes, "Those were blanks."
Yeah, and they totally took notes and did it a little bit of similar to this scene.
Which no, this one was real bullets though. Like, 'cause I was gonna
like
die.
no, she used real bullets on him.
Like she's like, "No, you're either gonna die or you're gonna be." He says bulletproof. Either way, we're gonna find out in 10 seconds.
And then
So,
have sex.
yeah, didn't they screw in Clark's bed?
But
I think she was at the mansion. It
They
did
were at
not
the
look
Kent
like
farm. They were still at the Kent.
No, they were on the Kent barn, but I don't think in that room was definitely the Kent.
That was Clark's
the
bed from season.
No,
7.
that was not Clark's bed. That was not Clark's bed. That was Tess's bed. Her bed is way too fancy and way too good from Clark's bed.
All right, I'll let you have this one because I didn't look at the scene that much, but I did see Clark's tat. I did like the scene where Zod turns over.
Oh yeah, he has that. He has that mark. That was on his tat. Like that was the mark of the Ken Dorian from the orb. When we saw that in the finale, when he appears out of thin air, and there's a mark on the back, and they kept it in the continuity.
Hey, we got the Supernatural script. How do we make it more Smallville? You know what we should do? Everybody gets laid in this episode.
Well, at
Supernatural
least one.
nobody
Well,
gets
at
laid.
least one. Well, at least two people got laid. Zod and Tess got laid. The other two couples, they
Clark
did
and
not.
Lois were getting laid as the episode was
Well,
going
no, they
on.
didn't know. Well, they no, they did not actually. Oh, like maybe they did off
Yeah,
screen.
they
Yeah,
did.
no. You're right. No, they did. I stand corrected.
And then Oliver and the freaking Chloe were getting it on, and then whenever they heard the scream, they were in their
Oh yeah,
bathroom.
they all got on. This was
So I'm
this
saying
was like a
everybody got laid in this episode.
yeah. This
What's
is like a
wrong?
horniest episode they have ever done in this whole show.
It's like Skinamax. It's literally Skinamax Smallville.
Yeah, except that it was like it was more of telling, not showing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the CW was like, bullshit, you're gonna show something. Bullshit. It's like, you better tread lightly. We're not even letting you show anything on the freaking shower scene.
It was this funny moment when Chloe and Clark were talking about him trying to get on with Lois and how he's able to control his ability without trying to crush her with his incredible strength. And he, with his training with Jarell, I was able to control my powers with everything.
Also, Zod would never bang Tess, okay? Because she's a human, and Zod looks beneath humans.
Well, no, because that he was able to learn how to control his strength, just what Clark mentioned earlier in that.
No,
in
like,
that
Zod just
scene.
doesn't like humans. He looks at humans like they're cattle.
I know.
So I just find it hard to believe that Zod.
Well, no,
would
he's clearly using her because he needs to know because he's weakened by kryptonite and he did not know that these green meteor rocks can harm Kryptonians. He was like, you know my weakness. What is it? You have your secret and I have mine. So he's just playing her as he goes along. They're fucking playing with each other.
I do like that we got our first appearance though of Silver Banshee from the comics. I thought that was great. I didn't know for years that until like Supergirl came out that they have Silver Banshee's actually a character from the comics.
I knew that the Banshee was going to show up in the episode when it was revealed in the teaser trailer and the promo. And then I went to Krypton site during the time when it was on TV, and I had to look up and like, oh yeah, she is one of the DC villains.
I was just focused on Zod's nasty looking back tattoo.
Really? That distracted you?
Yeah, it kind of did.
I'm not gonna lie, I dug it. I dug that the mark on his back.
Yeah, you know what I got? It reminded me of, like, remember X-Men 2 Cyclops or Nightcrawler when he turns around, he's got the mark on his neck. It kind of reminded me of that scene.
Yeah.
Where she sees the back of his neck. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, because they're using the back of the neck that Stryker used to pour the some kind of a serum that controls mutants.
It just reminded me whenever like the neck, it just kept reminding me of seeing X-Men 2.
But I get, and like I already mentioned this before, but the reason why they're keeping the mark on Zod's back because they're keeping him within the continuity that he is a Kandorian. He's just one of the carbon copy of the clones of his own original version of Zod, if that makes any sense. Because it did appear on the back on that Kandorian logo at the end of the season 8 finale.
This episode's terrible, but let's go to ratings. Collins, what say you?
3 out of 10.
Okay, Matt?
I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going 2. This thing was just...
you hate this episode. You despise this episode so much.
He's like,
damn. It was a slog and a half to get through, and I'm standing on business on that. This is easily
the... Fuck this episode. Fuck it.
No, is not great, but...
They do another episode like this in season 10.
Of course they do.
Oh yeah, prepare for that.
It's just like, what the hell, again?
All right, well, I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of these episodes? Let us know in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. It's a privilege to do this show every single week with these guys. Collins, what do you got coming up?
Well, tomorrow night, by the time this airs, we would have already done the watch. All 3 of us are doing the watch party for tomorrow night for Talking Silent season finale.
Yep.
For Hannibal. And then we have, and then of course I have, by the time this airs, Brave New World review will have dropped. And then of course we got Talking Silent, our Small Talk every Tuesday, and and then by the time this airs, this coming Friday, we will be doing Batman Terry on Batman Sub-Zero watch party. So catch you there, okay?
Yep, Collins is linked in the description. Give him a subscribe there. We're going to be doing Batman Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, I believe the movie is called. for Batman Terry coming up, so stay tuned for that. Matt White, what do you have coming up?
Well, I put up my review of Captain America Brave New World, and yeah, I'll be doing the Talk in Silence for the season 1 finale of Hannibal with these guys. And yeah, as what they mentioned, that we will be doing the Batman Terry, continuing on with Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, which I'm excited to get into that. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, subscribe to Matt, link in the description. As far as this channel goes, the David Lynch project is ongoing. Talking Silence finale will have happened when this drops, but I hope you all checked that one out. I will be on Collins's channel for Batman Terry. Got a lot of stuff coming up for the rest of this month and going into March for Oscar season. I have a little bit of a theme month planned for that, so stay tuned for that. But for Jacob Collins, for Matt Wyatt, my name is Ryan Cam. For truth, for justice, for the American way. Always hold on to Smallville. Collins, do it.
Sharpton for president, y'all. We're out.
Jesse Jackson, VP. We shall overcome.